Welcome to my channel, Enlightenment in the Darkness. And welcome to understanding the current timeline split. I was shown very clearly a division of timelines. How it looked was that the collective of humanity was at a fork in the road, where the path broke off into two distinct separate paths. It appeared to me that humanity was being given a choice as to which path they wanted to walk down. As I was shown this vision, my guides explained that the collective was divided in which path they wanted to take. Some were walking down the left path. Others were walking down the right path. Furthermore, many were standing at the split, still uncertain as to which way to move. These two paths represent two very separate frequencies of energy. Many are referring to these frequencies as the third dimension of reality and the fifth dimension of reality. Essentially, these paths represent two distinct timelines that humanity can choose as their reality. If thinking about the word dimension confuses you, then you can think of these paths as two different levels of frequency or vibration. Let me further try to explain these dimensions as I understand them. The third dimension of reality, sometimes called 3D or Old Earth, is made of a lower frequency. In this timeline, people are choosing to continue on a path ruled by fear, control, manipulation, greed, lack, division, and enslavement. It is a much denser or heavier frequency than its counterpart. The fifth dimension, also referred to as the New Earth timeline, is made of a much higher vibration of energy. It is one where humanity embraces unity, freedom, prosperity, abundance, equality, and peace. While those on the 3D Old Earth timeline want the world to operate the same way that it has for hundreds, and arguably thousands of years. The people choosing the 5D New Earth timeline will show humanity a new and more life-affirming way of living and being in the world. The divide. If you look around at the world, there is a plethora of issues that have divided the collective. The year 2020 only made this divide appear more intense and apparent. I believe that one of the greatest explanations for this intense acceleration of divisive energy has a lot to do with the fact that humanity is experiencing two separate realities play out at the exact same time. Therefore, many people are experiencing a lot of confusion and dissonance about which path is really the right or true path. This can seem like people are constantly fighting with themselves and with others. Choosing the higher timeline has a lot to do with the level of vibration you're operating at. If you want to know whether you're standing on the path to 5D or 3D, simply look to your thoughts, beliefs, and emotions. For many of us, our frequency changes from moment to moment. This is why it's important to stay present and aware. Because our thoughts create our reality. Your thoughts, beliefs, emotions, words, and actions all dictate which moment-to-moment frequency you're operating in. For example, in one moment you might be doing an activity or having a human interaction that excites you and opens your heart. You feel expansive, you feel creative, you feel joyful expression, you feel free and sovereign, you feel love, you feel unity. Perhaps you even feel limitless, as if anything is possible. You may feel all of these beautiful, heart expanding emotions that assure that you are tapping into a higher dimensional reality. However, in the next moment, you may be drawn into an outdated belief or system that completely disempowers you. You may feel contractive, fearful, annoyed, angry, or judgmental. You may even feel like you must remain silent because it feels unsafe to speak your authentic truth. It's easy to see how our day-to-day actions, emotions, and beliefs can flip-flop back and forth between higher and lower frequencies. This is why we must be aware of where we are putting our attention. Who and what do you give your energy away to? What timeline do you consent to through your daily thoughts, actions, and beliefs? Are you constantly giving energy to divisive energy and judging others? Or are you focusing your attention on living with more joy, freedom of expression, happiness, love, kindness, and compassion for others? If you want the easiest, most direct route to the highest trajectory for humanity, you must learn to create it with each moment-to-moment thought, action, and word. If you want the easiest, most direct route to the highest trajectory for humanity, you must learn to create it with each moment-to-moment thought, action, and word. If you want humanity to rise to this incredible moment in our evolution, you must be careful of where you give your energy, time, and attention to. Your thoughts are powerful at creating the future. We must learn to no longer entertain and feed into old narratives and stories that make us feel helpless, powerless, fearful, or restricted. We can learn to shift our outer reality by simply becoming the masters of our inner realities. The dismantling? When I was shown these two timelines, I noticed that the old timeline was dissolving. It was like the pathways and bridges that one must walk on were disappearing right underneath their feet. The people on this path were overcome with chaos and confusion, as their reality was literally collapsing. For the first time in their life, many began to question this reality, as it no longer made sense to them. Sound familiar? As this old timeline dissolved, I noticed more and more people choosing to step into the higher path. I also noticed that some people were being carried into the new path and being shown the way by those who already knew the way. Remember, it all comes down to intent and free will. Have you noticed that time seems to be speeding up? Days seem to be melting together. If you understand that the old timeline is collapsing, then you'll understand why many people are feeling deeply angry, confused, divided, and depressed right now. Some don't even realize that the constructs that used to make them feel safe and secure are now falling apart. Many are struggling to realize that this dismantling of old systems and structures is absolutely and completely necessary in order to shift the collective over onto the higher timeline. Naturally, people will resist that which they don't understand. People will cling to the old ways of living because they are comfortable or convenient. But we must know in our hearts that resisting and clinging to the old will only get us so far. The more we understand and embrace that the collapse of the old reality is actually a positive thing for humanity's evolution, the easier it will be for us to move through the events that will unfold in the coming months and years. Unhooking from the old reality. Choosing the higher timeline isn't always going to be an easy walk in the park. It takes a great deal of commitment, dedication, healing, and inner work to be a sovereign being and a co-creator of the new earth. It requires that we no longer blame or shame others for our choices and decisions. The other lesson here is that we must completely empty out everything that we thought we knew about ourselves and our reality in order to step into a new and higher state of existence. We cannot and will not be able to take the outdated and self-limiting parts of ourselves into the next phase of humanity. We will no longer be able to walk on the new earth with fear in our hearts and self-limiting beliefs in our minds. There is no place on the new timeline for censorship, judgment, hate, anger, inhibitions, doubt, insecurity, lack, coercion, and more. It's just not possible for these lower frequencies to exist in the higher reality. It is up to you, your free will, to continue to choose new beliefs and experiences that will only further strengthen her connection to these higher frequencies. How do we get to the new 5D Earth? Interestingly enough, I was shown another image of the two timelines. My guide showed me what looked like two tectonic plates grinding up against each other. They were trying to find their home and the place where they can settle, or exist together peacefully without creating massive chaos or disruption. As these two timelines continued to rub against each other, they created a ton of friction. I believe that eventually the 3D timeline will disappear altogether, but for the next several years, it will continue to try to assert its dominance over the incoming higher frequencies. This will create much friction and tension as we now have to collectively learn how to operate in a world where multiple realities are happening simultaneously. My guide said, "This is going to go on for a while. The friction and tension. Our goal is to not choose one side over the other, because we'll fall and get hurt every time they attempt to compete against one another. Every time these timelines shift, they will shake and rattle our realities. Don't pick sides. Don't judge these timelines as good versus bad or right versus wrong. Don't get caught up in thinking one is better than the other, or that your belief or experience is better than someone else's." It was a warning that every time we get dragged into judgment, superiority, or self-righteousness, we are sure to experience a rather uncomfortable fall. My guide continued, "Furthermore, our goal is to not try to straddle or stand in the middle of these two timelines, because what happens when you try to get in the middle of this friction is that the two plates will smash and squeeze you. The way I understand this is that many of us want to try to be the bridges, the way showers, the peacekeepers, and the truth tellers. Many of us want to guide others and show them the way. If you feel the calling to take on any or all of these roles, then please do so, because these roles are very much needed right now. But know that this is no easy task, and you will often feel immense pressure and pushback for taking on these kinds of responsibilities. You'll probably find that you need to step back from these roles from time to time in order to rejuvenate and restore your energy. Straddling the two timelines is not for the timid or weak. If you do find yourself straddling the two worlds, or clinging to the old while simultaneously tapping into the new, then know that you're not alone. If you do find yourself straddling the two worlds, or clinging to the old while simultaneously tapping into the new, then know that you're not alone. Most of us are at this energetic place where we're still working through our ascension process by letting go, expanding, raising our vibration, healing, clearing the old, and evolving so that we can better thrive in these new timelines. Furthermore, many of us still have jobs, friends, family, and responsibilities that are still rooted in the old. We are being given a grace period to transition from one reality to the other without having to completely disrupt or destroy our lives. So, try to avoid fear or worry about whether or not you're on the right path. The subtle process of crossing timelines will be different for each individual, and it should be one that brings you joy, growth, hope, and expansion. The last thing my guide showed me was that there was a third option. Eventually, each of us will reach a point in this process where we will no longer want to choose a side and participate in duality in old structures. We will also reach a point where we will no longer wish to straddle the two timelines, especially as the old one gets more chaotic and divisive. You can stand on these timelines and be shaken over and over again. You can stand in the middle of them and be squeezed and stretched. Or, you can simply rise above it all and observe the battle of the timelines play out, while knowing that the higher frequencies will gravitate to you when the timing is perfect for you. Nothing can stop the inevitable. Higher frequencies of New Earth to become our new reality. As I mentioned, it will take several years for this to be the primary timeline for most of humanity. At this point, I'm certain that the 5D timeline cannot be stopped, and that my children and grandchildren will know a future that is bright, beautiful, and abundant. I've always held this knowing deep in my soul. I didn't come to this earth to play around in the old ways. Rather, I came here to assist in the creation of the new. So, at this point in our journey, we can either get caught up in watching the old burn, or we can get busy creating our new reality as heaven on earth. At the end of my shamanic vision, my guide said the following message to me. I'm sharing them because they seemed like very wise words for chaotic times. It would be wise of you to remain hopeful. It would be wise of you to remain calm. It would be wise of you to not find yourself in the old energies of doom and gloom. Continue to search for hope wherever it may lie. And, if something or someone doesn't bring you hope or joy, kindly walk the other way. Hope wins, love wins, humanity is saved. That I can tell you, that I know to be true, and you will see it. You are seeing it happen right now. On the consciousness scale, try to stay in the frequency of love, or at least neutrality. Keeping your consciousness in love or neutrality raises you above the drama and the chaos that is happening now. I hope this message finds you well. Sending you many blessings as you get to witness one of the most incredible transitions in human history. I am for Wins, Shamanic Healer. Thank you for joining me here today on my channel, Enlightenment in the Darkness. Please take a moment to like and subscribe to my channel, so I may continue to bring you more enlightenment in the darkness. Many blessings to the rest of your day.